Hey guys, welcome back to a new video. Meanpooh here, and today we will be installing some RAM to the Lenovo Legion 5 Pro. First things first, I know some of you know how to do this and are just here for support, but please do not try to do this without taking proper precautions and respecting electricity. There are too many things that can go wrong, which can be prevented by putting safety first. You can start by working on an anti-static mat, wearing a bracelet, or wearing anti-static gloves. You can also go in bare, it's your choice. With that out of the way, make sure your machine is shut down and unplugged from the power source. Next, turn the machine over. Remove these 10 screws. With the screws removed, take a pry tool or credit card to further loosen the bottom panel. Lay the machine down and completely remove the bottom panel. Please remove the battery connector from the board. Do not skip this part. This is the cause of a large percentage of people's problems. Next, let's remove these 3 screws. This is the RAM we will be installing. Remove the aluminum cover to the right. The aluminum shield has 8 clamps holding it down that's pretty firm. You may need a pry tool to gently lift it. There are a total of 8 holding points. To remove the modules, gently press the silver prongs located on the left and right of the installed modules. The module will spring up, then gently remove it at an angle away from the slot. Here is the old RAM. The next module is removed the same way. Here is the new RAM out of the packaging. Make sure to line up the notch so you will not try to install it upside down. Even if you tried, it would not fit. Slide it in at an angle and press down. You will see the prongs spread open, then close and lock into place. The other module will install the same way. If you get the cover disoriented, there are markings on the side to help you distinguish the right way to put it back on. Look for the silver markings and line them up and gently push down. The edges will go in the center of the clasp. Replace the SSD and Wi-Fi shield along with the screws. Lastly, reconnect the battery. If everything looks good, replace the bottom panel and gently work your way around the bottom panel by pressing down. You should hear some low clicking sounds. Replace the screws. I usually go back and give the screws a slight turn so they won't wiggle out from all the movement. Don't forget to check around the machine to make sure that there are no open crevices that need to be pushed together. You should now boot up your machine to check and make sure that the modules are registering with your system. You can do this by going into the BIOS or the Performance tab within Windows Task Manager. It should list the total amount of installed RAM. Next, we will have some info of the RAM kit that was installed. This might not be interesting to some of you, but here it is. Here we have the timings. This is the cache and memory benchmark. When comparing the two, you will see the speed increase. I ran this benchmark quite a few times and there seems to be no change at all. There was an increase in all Geekbench benchmarks. Here's Corona. There was an increase in all 3D Mark benchmarks, which consisted of Firestrike, Firestrike Ultra, and Time Spy. I threw Firestrike Extreme in as an extra. The next benchmarks are made with games that have a controlled environment, meaning they have their own benchmarks that can be ran the same each time. From left to right will be the stock RAM running at native resolution, the new RAM at the native resolution, and lastly, the new RAM running at 1920 by 1080. There were small improvements in this game, but not as large as one would hope for. Again, small gains are had in Valhalla, but stays pretty much the same between the single and dual rank RAM modules. In Odyssey, we have a few FPS differences, but just like Valhalla, the min and max FPS has increased.
Don't get between me and my gun, heretic!
Oh, Calypso! Send us reinforcements! Empty! Time to die!
In Borderlands 3, we get a 4 FPS gain over the stock RAM. I also noticed that the CPU power was lower when using the new modules. Here is the Division 2. The benchmark was run with VSync and HDR mode. This will explain the funky colors you see. Regardless, I ran the test with HDR and VSync off, and the results were pretty close to being the same. At the end, we get a 5 FPS gain over the old RAM and a big leap if you drop down to 1920 by 1080. Forza Horizon 4, we see some of the largest gains yet. Going from the old RAM to the new, we get a 12 FPS gain on average and a 24 FPS gain dropping down to 1920 by 1080. Red Dead Redemption 2 didn't have any significant differences that you could tell, unless like all the others that you drop down to 1920 by 1080, then you will see an increase. Lastly, we have Far Cry 5, and just like the others, there's around a 5 FPS gain while using the native resolution and a 35 FPS gain on average when dropping to 1920 by 1080. Wrapping it up, in my opinion, I think spending money on dual rank memory in certain laptops could be a waste and would be better served by taking the extra money and getting a better GPU in which you will see much better gains across the board. I think that the memory will be better suited to certain applications and single rank memory will work just fine for the average gamer. The small FPS gains we see in the different games could possibly be larger if the memory was installed in a machine that will let the user adjust the timings and voltages. As far as I know, that's only available using a desktop with a decent motherboard or certain laptop manufacturers with custom BIOS. Only you can make that decision if you need it or not. As you saw in the other benchmarks, the trick is finding the software that can make use of the bandwidth. And with that said, thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.